Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Wahoos Weekly, a weekly in-depth look at the Pensacola Blue Wahoos on and off the field here on Blad TV. I'm Eric Bramer, and he's Charlie Hobart. The Blue Wahoos this week are at home for their longest homestand of the season, 12 games in 13 days this week against the Biloxi Shuckers, AA affiliate of the Milwaukee Brewers, and then next week against the Rocket City Trash Pandas, AA affiliate of the Los Angeles Angels. Charlie, this is our second time getting a look at the Biloxi Shuckers, the Blue Wahoos' closest geographic rival, and you actually got to go to Biloxi and call a couple games with me during the opening road series of the season. So we know a little bit about the Biloxi Shuckers, and if we know one thing, it's they got some pretty talented players at the top of their order.
I mean, those guys hit. The Shuckers just hit. They, last I looked anyway, they're at the top of the Southern League in almost every offensive category, and it's kind of spearheaded by Jesus Madej and Blake Burke at that kind of 2 and 3 hole in the lineup. Burke hit 6 home runs in his first 6 games. I mean, that's absolutely unheard of. He's got power to all fields. He can go to dead center. He's hitting homers to the opposite field, looking like they were pulled, you know? And then Jesus Madej is a threat in every sense of the word, on the bases, at the shortstop position. He hits for contact. He hits for power. And by the way, he's only 18 years old. So the Shuckers are definitely going to be a handful for the Wahoos.
Jesus Madej, one of the top prospects in baseball. Most lists have him at number 4, but the 3 guys ahead of him are already in the big leagues and will soon exhaust their prospect status, leaving Jesus Madej as the top prospect. And he looked every bit like the top prospect in baseball when the Blue Wahoos saw him, not just based on the box score, but the eye test that scouts talk about. You and I were able to see him from up top. We were able to watch him up close during batting practice. He just looks like a future major leaguer.
He looks like a veteran, you know? He's only 18, as I mentioned. This guy just became an adult. He's not from the country either, so he's navigating that throughout his entire life, and he's so cool. He's composed. He doesn't get frustrated with umpires. He doesn't get frustrated with any other things going on. He just is on the field, and he's playing ball, and I gotta be honest, even as a guy from the Wahoos, it's a lot of fun to watch as a baseball fan.
The only evidence that I saw that Jesus Madej is cool is that he wears sunglasses, but that was during a day game. So we'll leave that one for the fans to decide as we get to know his personality a little bit more. One thing that we learned when the Blue Wahoos were in Biloxi, as we saw the return of longtime Shuckers manager Mike Guerrero, is that was a very concerted effort on the Brewers' part to bring Mike Guerrero back and try and replicate the environment that they had for Jackson Chourio a couple years ago. Young Latin superstar in the making, who has a bilingual manager who can kind of guide him through the AA level, which is a big step for anyone, regardless of your background.
I mean, absolutely. The Brewers focus a lot on their organizational depth, and that's not just in the player category. They've had the same manager at AAA, Rick Sweet, for about, 100 years now. They really care about these players getting to know the managers, getting to know the staff, and feeling as comfortable as possible as they're in the hardest part of their careers. A lot of these guys who played in high school and college were the best players on that team. And now they're entering a stage in their career where they're not the best player on their team. They're not even close sometimes. So they need a guy who they're going to spend a lot of time with, they can get to know, they can sit and talk to about things that go beyond baseball. And I think it's a credit to the Brewers organization for how closely they pay attention to the little things like that, Eric.
As we get to know the Blue Wahoos team a little bit better here now into the second month of the season, one of the things that I guess you can look for as a North Star roadmap is the success of the Biloxi Shuckers, because a good version of this Blue Wahoos team looks pretty similar to a good version of the Biloxi Shuckers team. They're stealing bases, they're playing good defense, and they've got enough pitching to withstand maybe some high-scoring games.
I mean, absolutely, not to mention the power. I mean, the Wahoos obviously aren't flashing the kind of power that maybe Biloxi is, but they hit 3 home runs a couple games ago against the Knoxville Smokies. It's in there, and they got the guys to do it. The pitching can be deep. Jacob Miller, Carson Milbrandt, these guys know what they're doing on the mound. And with a great catcher like Ryan Ignafo, who's caught these guys before, it creates a really great relationship and a really great trust between battery mates. And then the stolen bases, I mean, the Wahoos are amongst the best in stolen bases. They played really good defense aside from a few errors. Everything's looked pretty darn good, so it's just about them actually putting it together and hopefully rising to the level of the great teams that they're playing.
At the end of that series between the Blue Wahoos and the Shuckers in Biloxi, the Blue Wahoos and Shuckers were tied for the Southern League lead in stolen bases, but they arrived at those destinations very differently. The Blue Wahoos were 29 for 31. And the Shuckers were 29 for 40, thanks to a couple throwouts from Ryan Ignafo and Garrett Forrester. Blue Wahoos have done a better job controlling the running game than the Shuckers have, and that's due in large part to their catchers.
I mean, absolutely. It's a team effort between the pitcher and the catcher. Everyone, at least common baseball fans, will look at a catcher and be like, he's not throwing enough runners out. Well, it starts on the mound. How close can a pitcher keep the guy to first base when he takes his lead off? How quickly is he getting the ball to the plate? What pitch is he throwing? Is it going to be an off-speed pitch? Is it going to be a fastball? Is it high? Is it low? There's a lot of factors that go into this, but obviously it's a big point of emphasis on the defensive end. And all in all, they've done a pretty darn good job thus far in the season of keeping base runners at bay. Obviously, you're going to give up stolen bases. It's just part of the game, especially at this point. But they've done a pretty good job limiting it the best they can.
The Blue Wahoos are a very right-handed team. They've got only Brendan Jones batting from the left side and Ian Lewis Jr. as a switch hitter on the position player side. All of their starting pitchers are also right-handed as well. The Biloxi Shuckers are a different story. They've got a lot of lefties in the lineup, and the Blue Wahoos struggled at times to control that lefty-heavy lineup. When they were able to get lefties on the mound, however, that is when the tide turned in that first matchup. You saw Cade Bragg have some really nice appearances, as well as Luis Palacios, who is no stranger to Blue Wahoos fans, the winningest pitcher in franchise history. Those two lefties especially, as well as a former Biloxi Shucker, Justin King, can be a pretty big asset to the Blue Wahoos in their bullpen anytime they face a team like the Shuckers that has so many lefties up and down the order.
I mean, absolutely. And they're the only three in there, so they know when they go up against a team like the Shuckers where the first six hitters are batting out of the left-handed side, they're going to be relied on in a big way in those 6-game sets, and they've handled it greatly. You know, when they're coming in, they're facing all these righties. Obviously, they're going to be at a disadvantage. The splits just typically aren't there, so they kind of have an interesting workload to deal with, and being the only three, not only in the bullpen, like you said, but on that staff, it's kind of a burden, but they've done a good job of shouldering it and helping this team win.
Luis Palacios, a name that I just mentioned, he started the season with AAA Jacksonville, and he might have been disappointed to come back down here to AA Pensacola because he's been with Pensacola since late in the 2022 season. But we were happy to have him back, and I've seen pretty much every pitch he's ever thrown in a Blue Wahoos uniform. You got to see him for the first time. The way that Luis Palacios has success in 2026 is a bit of a throwback. It's an easy delivery. He tops out at 91, 92 miles per hour. But pitchers like that, when they have success, are, in my mind, even more fun to watch just because they get by on guile, command, and location.
Absolutely, and funny enough, it could be kind of difficult to deal with, I guess, if you're an offensive player. The whole emphasis these days is 99, 100, throw hard, find the zone eventually, but get it there as fast as possible. So now you're coming up against a lefty who's more of a command guy, more of a junk guy, and it's kind of an adjustment as a hitter that you have to make. Hitting fastballs, believe it or not, guys, gets easier the more you see them. That's why we see so many relievers in the big leagues who start their career super hot out of the bullpen. They go through struggles. Guys like Aroldis Chapman, guys like Jordan Hicks back with the Cardinals. It gets easy to figure out, but when you got stuff and you can command that stuff, you can never figure that out as an offensive hitter.
Blue Wahoos are in the midst of their longest homestand of the year, as we said, 12 games in 13 days. We're happy to have the fans here on a regular basis, but it also creates unique challenges. You get used to a rhythm where you're on one week, off the next, on the road, at home. To play this many consecutive home games can be a drain on these guys. We can see them and hear them behind us right now doing early work, something that they can do when they have unlimited access to the field. How do the Blue Wahoos get through this extended stretch at home and still feel like they're feeling fresh?
They got to find times for themselves. You know what I mean? You got to put your work in. You got to get on the field, do your early work, do your late work. But when you leave the park, baseball's got to be off the mind. Go home, play some video games, make some frozen dinner, cook some dinner, do whatever you like to do, but relax, take it easy. Baseball's hard, and baseball is constant, Eric. So when you get a chance for it not to be constant, you got to kick it out of gear, and I think it's a really big thing that these players are going to have to learn, especially young in their career.
Good advice for the broadcasters, too. You were in Biloxi, and we talked a little bit about the games that you covered. talked about the games that we shared together in the booth, but I haven't yet asked you about your experience in the city of Biloxi. It's a place that I used to live back my first year in minor league baseball, and we got to give you a little bit of a tour of downtown Biloxi. What did you think?
Man, it's a great little town. I loved it. I got to go to a record store, Marley's record store.
Marley's Music, yeah.
Marley's Music. I picked up one record. It was great, only $10, so good
Simon
value.
and Garfunkel, right?
Simon and Garfunkel, bookends. Yeah, I went to the Julep Room with you. We got to see a little bit of live music from some of the locals. Kind of a quaint little place, but clearly very big on community. They love each other down there, and I'm felt lucky to be a part of it.
Though we are rivals on the field, we always love to see the Biloxi Shuckers succeeding off the field and in the community, and it sure seems like that's the case. Yeah, you and I went to the Julep Room, which, according to legend, was the place where Elvis Presley liked to have a virgin mint julep when he was courting his girlfriend at the time, back before he got really, really big. You didn't have a mint julep. You decided to order, let's say, a not regionally appropriate beer, but it was okay.
Yeah, I mean, am I allowed to say what it was?
Sure, you can say.
I wanted a Guinness.
A Guinness?
I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting a Guinness.
In Biloxi, Mississippi, out of a bottle.
I'd never been to the South before, Eric.
Okay.
You know this. They didn't have draft.
No.
So that was my big, put the brakes on. Maybe this isn't the move. So I switched it up. I went with something not Guinness, and it worked out just fine. So if you do end up going to the Julep Room, they don't have draft. If you like beer on draft, figure it out.
The regulars all went silent at the same time, and they looked at him, and then they looked out the window and saw that we had out-of-state plates, and you could hear some suspicion growing. But luckily, he recovered by ordering something else, and he insisted on them cutting up a citrus fruit to put in the neck of the bottle and whatever. But we're teaching him slowly but surely how to behave himself in the Southern League in a brand new area.
I mean, to be fair, I'm coming directly from Wisconsin.
And they don't know anything about drinking beer in Wisconsin. Hey, our next guest is going to be Bill Vilona, a Southern League Hall of Famer. You got to know Bill a little bit. What can our fans expect as we get to hear Bill Vilona's stories?
Stories, just that. I mean, he'll tell you everything there is to know, not only about the Southern League and the city, but this team. So you guys are in for a real treat. I mean, there's nothing better than sitting down and chatting with old Bill.
He's literally written the book on the Pensacola Blue Wahoos, and we talk with Bill Vilona after this on Wahoos Weekly.
At A1 Automotive, we do it all. All kinds of repairs for all kinds of vehicles. We do AC repairs, we do suspensions, we do pre-purchase inspections. We'll diagnose your problem and get it fixed. Free brake inspection. We can provide financing for any work we do. Veteran-owned, military, and first responders discounts. A1 Automotive, 403 Beverly Parkway, Pensacola.
Gilmarine, your one-stop shop for all your boating needs. We offer a vast selection of parts, accessories, and electronics. Discover our range of used boats in every size, shape, and brand, all ready to get you on the water today. And we provide expert advice and top-notch customer service to ensure you have the best boating experience. We service all outboard, inboards, stern drives, jet drives, and personal watercraft. Our certified staff will get you back on the water. Visit Gilmarine at 3541 West Fairfield Drive, Pensacola.
Get a fresh cut and a fresh start at AHW Barber Academy. We focus on growth. Join us at 3822 North 9th Avenue, Pensacola, for a top-notch $6 haircut while supporting aspiring barbers. Our students learn in a real-world setting, guided by experienced professionals to become licensed barbers. Need a cut or a new career? Visit AHW Barber Academy or call 850-692-9298.
Empire Truck Sales, located at 2255 West Detroit Boulevard in Pensacola, is your Freightliner, Western Star, Detroit Diesel, and Cummins dealer for Northwest Florida. Open 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., Saturdays and Sundays, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., providing sales, service, and parts. Empire Truck Sales is also your Oasis dealer for Freightliner custom chassis RV and motorhome repairs. Running I-10 will get you in.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Wahoos Weekly. I'm broadcaster Eric Bramer, and I'm joined today by our good friend, Pensacola Sports Hall of Famer and Blue Wahoos senior writer, Bill Vilona. Bill, good to see you.
Good to be on, and thanks for having me, and can't beat this view here.
Well, pretty much anyone watching this, I'm sure, knows who you are, but in case there's someone who is a fan of the Pensacola Blue Wahoos and does not know Bill Vilona, give me the CV, give me the resume. In addition to being a Pensacola Sports Hall of Famer, how did you arrive at that title?
Well, I grew up in Pittsburgh at a time when the Pirates were really, really good. Those were the Roberto Clemente, Willie Stargell, Bill Mazeroski years, so they were good, and the Steelers were just coming into their own as great, and the Penguins were good, and I was a sports fan. I mean, my father and my uncle grew up there, and they saw Jackie Robinson play. They saw Satchel Paige play. They went to games, and so they were into sports, and they got naturally into sports. And Pirates were I was lucky. They were really, really good when I was a kid. Roberto Clemente was unbelievable to watch play, and so I knew when I got to high school that I wanted to be in sports. Whatever I did, I wanted something involved in sports, and I liked to write. I enjoyed reading the papers. Back then, Pittsburgh had 2 newspapers, and so I loved the idea of being a sports writer, and that's what I did. So I started as a high school kid, and then I went to college, University of Tennessee, because I had an aunt and uncle that lived there. They were that was an SEC school. That was a sports school. Just started in Bristol, Tennessee for 6 years, and then luckily got an opportunity to come to Pensacola in 1988, and then I got an opportunity to cover Florida State athletics for USA Today's network, and that was when Bobby Bowden was the head coach at Florida State, and man, that was an unbelievable era of athletics for not just football, but basketball was good, baseball was great. So I've been lucky. I've covered sports in 30. I've covered a sporting event in 36 of the 50 states.
Wow.
The 2 I wish I would have done, Alaska and Hawaii, I didn't make it. But 36 states I've covered a sporting event in, and very blessed. And then I joined the Blue Wahoos in 2019. I knew Quint Studer when he bought the Pensacola Pelicans. So every time he tells the story of how he bought the Pensacola Pelicans, all of this is vivid memories, and he had said to me one day back then, hey, look, if you ever want to do something else, give me a call. And so when that day arrived, I'm grateful that he was able to create a position for me, and now I've morphed into a role of senior writer and events coordinator, working with Shannon Hanna, our events manager, and we're doing all kind of events, and it's wonderful. I'm learning. It's just a rejuvenation, really, for a career, and I'm grateful. And so I've seen a lot of amazing things happen here in Pensacola. I would say this ballpark, this journey tops them all. Never would I have imagined you and I, here we are sitting here doing this show, and look what's behind us, and remembering what this once was. I still remember opening day 14 years ago, Eric, and it was a surreal moment to think that Pensacola would ever get to this point, to have a AA baseball team and a stadium this beautiful.
One thing that I didn't know until a couple years working with this guy is that you actually played hockey in college. It was at the club level,
right?
But you played hockey, right?
Yeah, I that was my sport in high school. I played golf, but I loved hockey. And I once, had loved just the whole idea of being on the ice and playing street hockey and ice hockey. So Tennessee had a club team, and fortunately, a couple of my roommates were one was from Long Island and another one was from outside of Philadelphia, and they were hockey guys. So we played, and it was fun. Nashville, believe it or not, we played Vanderbilt in our opening game. Nashville didn't have an arena. I mean, now Nashville has an NHL team. But Nashville didn't have an arena, and we played in this old arena that they had, and it didn't have plexiglass, and it didn't have boards that moved. And skated onto the ice that night, and I said, "Hey, is this a practice rink?" No, this is where we're playing. I'm like, "Oh my God," So that was how I started. I played 1 year, and then I realized, look, I'm not going anywhere in hockey. I love it. I'm okay at it, but, that's not, let's just be honest. So I just started pursuing my career, which was being in sports, but still love hockey. And, of course, Pensacola, another great journey with the Ice Pilots and the Ice Flyers, and seeing how hockey has developed here in Pensacola. Stunning for me, coming from a background, to see what's gone on here. Pretty special.
You covered the baseball scene here in Pensacola, working for the Pensacola News-Journal, and again, the transition from the independent Pensacola Pelicans to the Pensacola Blue Wahoos was written in the book, Living the Wahoos Life by Bill Vilona, but even that had to condense the story because there are a lot of twists and turns, and at many different points, it very easily could have not happened.
Well, I will say this. Without the perseverance, the determination, the stick-to-itiveness that Quinn and Richie Studer had to do this, 99% of the people in their position would have walked away from this. They would not have saw this through. There were too many hurdles. There were too many attempted roadblocks. There were too many naysayers. They were determined to make this happen. Quint wanted to see a team here. He wanted this stadium built. And I remember him saying, "Do you think this will work?" And people said to him from the outside, "Why won't it work? You're putting a stadium on the water. You're in downtown. It's going to work." And he was hopeful, but I don't know if anybody thought it would be as transformational to the city of Pensacola and this community as it's been. That's really what stands out. It transformed downtown. It transformed our community. And here we are 15 years later from when it all started, thinking, wow, can you believe, look at downtown now, look what's going on here. Who would have ever imagined this? And we're very blessed.
You've grown a bit more intimate, let's say, with the Blue Wahoos organization since joining the front office in 2019, but you covered those first few years for the Pensacola News-Journal, including a championship season in 2017. As you look back at the first decade and a half of Blue Wahoos baseball, which moments, players, memories really stick out in your mind as things that will stand the test of time?
Well, obviously, when we were, opening day was unbelievable. The Blue Angels buzzed over the stadium, and I just remember sitting here thinking, this is like an out-of-the-world experience, that this is really happening here. So that was an incredible moment. And then, the only time we had a local player, Ben Lively, play here, that was incredible. But then, although I didn't see it live, Tyler Malley's perfect game, I remember following it. They played in Mobile. I wasn't there to cover it. Of course, I wrote about it as fast as I could when it was done. But, you think about a perfect game in minor league baseball, pretty unbelievable that happened. Billy Hamilton, stolen base record. That was incredible to watch. And then when I joined the Wahoos in 2019, that Minnesota Twins year as an affiliate, look at all those players. And, many of them in the major leagues and the talent that was on that team. And then since being here, the team that won the championship with Yuri Perez, who can ever remember? I mean, I'll never forget watching the championship game, and they were playing the Tennessee Smokies back then. And Yuri Perez he struck out 8 guys in 10 batters, I think it was. So it was incredible, and just very blessed to see the talent here and also the memories, because we're all about creating memories. And I think what this ballpark has done is brought people in here who are wowed by what they see, and they'll never forget it, and it's great. That's what we're about. creating a family-friendly environment and making people's day. And I think we try to do that every single night.
We're very proud of the former players who have gone on to the big leagues. You had a chance to know two broadcasters who preceded me in this role. Tommy Thrall, who's now with the Reds, and Chris Garagiola, who's now with the Diamondbacks, from a PR perspective. And then as a coworker, you got to know both of those guys, and that's been a pretty special thing to see them grow.
Yeah, Tommy was here for 7 years, fantastic. Also did things for UWF, also endured some really tough seasons, and he stayed with it. He got his opportunity. Now he followed a legend. Chris Garagiola, his grandfather was Joe Garagiola. Chris was here, same thing. And I look at yourself in the same way. I mean, all three of you guys incredibly talented, and it's very, very difficult to broadcast a game every single night, and that's what you guys do, and very talented. So I'm blessed to have known all three of you all, and I mean it's all part of what is a special history here with the Blue Wahoos.
One of the things that makes a sometimes difficult job very easy is being in the workplace with very pleasant people, and Bill Vilona is one of them. Bill, before we wrap up this episode, I'd like to give you an opportunity to tell our viewers where they can read your work.
Well, you can just log on to bluewahoos.com, and we post as many as I can do. You're great at putting it on social media as well, Facebook. I still can contribute to the PNJ. I still do some work for the Ice Flyers when I can. Same with UWF, but primarily bluewahoos.com. And you're also going to see me in every event that we host, because that's an element that I've really learned to love. And it's been a lot of bright moments there too.
Well, you can also check out the Blue Wahoos Tackle Box Game Day program the next time you're at a Wahoos game. Bill contributes articles to that. And be sure to pick up the book he authored a couple years ago, Living the Wahoos Life, which details the first decade of Pensacola Blue Wahoos baseball. Bill, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
For my broadcast partner, Charlie Hobart, and our entire production crew with the Pensacola Blue Wahoos, this is Eric Bramer. Thanks for watching another episode of Wahoos Weekly.